I voted for the first thing I want to talk about is the importance of voting. There, because of everything that's going on, there are a lot of people who feel differently about whether voting is important or whether voting is not important. And I speak from, or I'm speaking from my experience as far as the idea that voting is super important, because when you're a voter, excuse me, and then not informed, then it's not that you can make an incorrect choice, but you can make an incorrect choice as far as it not agreeing with how you really feel. And I say that because I voted for Donald Trump. Now, I have been super honest, struggling with that decision pretty much since I sent in my ballot. And here's why. Again, I'm not telling anybody on this video or any other video who you should vote for. Mm-hmm. However, the person that you vote for should be somebody who aligns with your feelings and what you want to see happen, as far as the country is concerned. Because what we tend to do is vote and then throw our hands up and be like, all right, you take it, politician, whoever you are, whoever you're voting for. And we don't follow through with continuing to, I'll say most of us don't follow through with continuing to work to hold them accountable as far as what they said they were going to do to get your vote in the first place. So my situation, I have a history of, first of all, waiting way too late to figure out the candidates, way too late to research who they are, what their platform is, what they're trying to do. And on top of that, who are they thinking about as far as choosing for their cabinet? Who do they kind of see as the vice president or the whatever, the speaker of the house, or whatever it is? The president comes with a package, essentially. Mm-hmm. It's not just him, it's all of the people who he wants to put on his ticket. So at that time, I had a history of not doing my research, not doing my due diligence as far as figuring out who I want to vote for. So we all know who the two candidates were. At that time, it was Trump and it was Hillary. And I don't know if it was because what they were saying about Hillary that was affecting me as far as, oh, she's lying and she's hiding these, emails. At that time, I took, you're lying about emails on one side, and then this other guy who's basically just not a politician. Like he's dumb, or he's stupid, or he's not smart, or he's reckless, or whatever. I took those two ideals and I tried to grade them. And the only reason I tried to grade them was because I didn't know a whole lot about his his platform. And this is while everything as far as him telling, the guys on buses that, you grab women by the pussy, all of this stuff that I knew about, but I was like, I tell you what I thought. I thought he's not the only one that's going to be making decisions. It's going to be people around him making decisions that are going to help him be smarter than what he is. That's what I thought. And I definitely thought that was better than somebody who lies. Because if she lie about emails, she's going to lie about anything else. That's what I thought. And then after the election, a friend of mine said, well, every politician lies. For whatever reason, whether they feel like it's a righteous lie or whether they feel like they are doing this to try to blah, 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 all of them lie. So in that situation, she wasn't doing anything that anybody else doesn't do, And because I didn't talk about my decision beforehand with anybody as far as dialoguing about, who are you, da 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 da. Again, it made me make my decision. So when I turned in that ballot, literally almost immediately, I was like, I don't think I should have voted for that person. Mm-hmm. If I meet somebody and they say, and they honestly feel like I voted for Donald Trump because I believe in whatever his politics are. If you actually believe that, I really don't have anything to say to you, because that is your right to choose who you want to choose. I'm saying my decision wasn't right because I just gave him my vote. I didn't require anything. I didn't research anything. I was just like, I don't know. Okay, here. And the thing about voting is it's so important, because if you don't do the things that I kind of talked about, you just essentially give people your vote. And you just like, oh, well, I don't know what's going, I don't know, we'll see type of thing. And you don't want to be we'll see in the voting box. You want to know something, because then you can do a better job of following up with them and saying, hey, you said you were going to do this. Remember you talked about this? Like, we need you, on that. Why aren't you? When you operate as then you don't have any of that background to be able to follow through. So again, as a person who made, according to myself, a dumb decision, that's why I believe wholeheartedly that being educated about who you vote for is important, and also taking into consideration the other offices to vote for besides the presidency. One of the things that I think is important as far as GST, an organization that's trying to, help, is us giving information that's going to remind people of what's being voted on for that year. Some kind of way, whether it's a website or something else, to say, these are the things that are being voted on this year. These are the offices that are being voted for. And this is what those offices do. And then this is how these offices affect your life. Because that's another reason, as far as locally, on a state level, a lot of elections, those elections don't get a lot of voter turnout. And I believe the main reason is because Americans, like people, specifically Black people, we don't know a lot about those other, offices. We don't know what, I'm in Texas, so a lot of talk is about, the comptroller and stuff like that. I don't know what the comptroller does. I don't know how his office affects my life or the things that I'm doing or whatever. And that's important, because when you're voting for a person that has some sort of say-so and makes decisions as far as your housing situation or your food situation or your, road situation or, how schools are zoned and all that kind of stuff, you have no way to further the advancement in your community because you didn't go out and vote during that time. So voting is really, really important, and it has become more important each month and each year. Donald Trump is president. I get reminded of, bro, like you did not. That was not a good decision for you, and it's I don't know if it's probably a little painful, for me. So anyway, what are your thoughts on voting? Like, do you think it's important? How important do you think it is? Like, how do you approach, voting?
I'll start by saying we're gonna run out of time. We're gonna run out of time. I'll start by saying I come from the standpoint that I believe. I don't want to say no, but I say I believe that voting is vital.
Right.
And the reason being, one, I come from a family that's in law enforcement, in government, politics. So it's not foreign to me to be exposed to certain elements or certain access to information.
Yeah.
And I was always taught that when I started voting was a good mindset to have when you vote is imagine that your vote is the one that counts.
Right.
Like, don't look at it as you and a whole bunch of people, but you're making this decision for everybody else. Like, the pressure is on you. Like, the country is depending on you. So,
Yeah.
Corey, when you go in the booth, like, it's your vote that counts. And so that helped me put in perspective that it's pressure, but it also gave me a rounded understanding that my vote doesn't only affect me,
Yeah.
but it affects other people. And I think that's the element that people miss. Because also I now look at, I really didn't understand what that every detail, but now I'm getting older, I'm starting to understand that even if a candidate is good for me, doesn't mean that that candidate is good for my community. And I think that that's an aspect that we all miss out because we are selfish when it comes to a lot of things. You know what I'm saying? Like, we want the candidate that's going to put money in our pocket. We want the candidate that's going to make my family feel safer. My family. I'm not worried about the other people that's on the other side of the tracks, but my family, I'm cool. And I failed to realize that my part of the community is a very, very small portion of the community. So if I'm only looking for my family and that's it, I'm putting everybody else at risk. And I think that's what the responsibility is. We have to be informed of who's on the ballot.
Yeah.
And the catch is they don't make it easy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's the game. You know what I'm saying? That's the political game. They don't want you to be informed. They want you to take their word for it. You know what I'm saying? They say, look it up, get out and vote, be informed, but they don't really want you to do that. They want you to take their word at face value. And that's every single candidate, Democratic, Republican, Independent. They all want you, they don't want you to look at another candidate.
Yeah.
They may give you bullet points, look what he did and this and this and this and this and this and this.
Yeah.
He did this, here's the information, but that's fine. Like, I'll research myself.
Yeah.
So yes, information is vital. Also, too, another key element is, I'm not gonna say we messed up, but I'll say the school system and things are at fault as well, because they don't really instruct us how to research, how to look for information, where, and how to come up with an educated thought. Maybe when it comes to science, we learn about hypothesis and all that stuff, but as far as diligently researching and coming up with different sources and how to come up with a conclusion, it's a skill that if you don't have, it's gonna mess you up in life. Yep. You're gonna find yourself behind in a lot of areas, family and everything. So it's very important. Voting is very important because it affects everybody at large. Just because a candidate, again, is right for me doesn't mean he's right for the country. I voted for Hillary. I did not want to.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I did not like her. And I did not like Donald Trump.
Yeah.
The reason I voted for Hillary was not because of Hillary's merit, and it wasn't because Donald Trump was the bad guy. I was going off of, I was hoping that even though she had this hideous past of doing whatever, she, you know, the way she was, even when her husband was in office, those were years later. She now has people that can hold her accountable to do the right thing. So that's why she got my vote, because she was very close with the Obamas, President Obama administration, and some other people that can help her make informed decisions about community. Yeah. So I was okay. I don't really trust her on her own, but as we said, it's kind of the cabinet to help her coast along, but also that personal relationship and the legacy that she's following as being the first female president, right underneath the first Black president. So I think that she'll have a lot of help in making informed decisions, and she don't want to mess the world up. So that's my standpoint on, you know, on that.
Yeah. It definitely is interesting when you talk about voting for yourself versus voting for the people. And again, to anybody watching, that's why I started by saying, and will continue to say, me or this organization or anything, it's not about telling you who to vote for, but it's one of the things, like Corey said, this is a collective decision that we're all making, and we have to realize everybody has their different standpoint. Everybody has their different viewpoint and perspective, you know, and that is definitely going to come into play when you talk about, you know, something like voting, where, you know, you think this particular issue is, you know, the issue that's paramount and at the top, and then you think this other issue is at the top. So that's why it's important that after the person is put in office, whoever they are, our work as far as working with them doesn't stop.
Yeah,
you still have to continue at whatever level we're talking about, local, state, or, you know, federal. We're talking about, okay, boom, this person is now in office, so now let's continue to talk to them, continue to dialogue, continue to you know, put pressure, and not pressure like a bully, or like I'm trying to make you, but pressure like, hey, I'm reminding you why the things that I'm saying or the things that we're saying are important. This is why they're important, and I'm going to continue to, you know, call you or write to you or whatever about why it's important and what we believe, you know, should be done. So it's that accountability and that continued. I even call it support, whether you like the person or not. You know, that continued support.
Yeah.
Hey, we're all together. This is why things should be different, or this is why, you know, this should happen. I remember learning in school that back in the day, in the early days of America, the person who lost the election became the vice president.
Okay.
It was like, yeah, you got two people running. We're gonna get it to two people. Whoever wins is the president. Whoever doesn't win is the vice president. And that was interesting to me because generally you're gonna get the parties running against each other. But the person who loses still has to be a part of helping to run the country, and you have to work with the person that essentially is on the opposite side. So you got to work together. And so that idea was like, man, that should cause, you know, that I hope it did, you know, cause those two people to say, listen, whatever, you know, you feel, I feel, we're both here because we want to do what's best for the people that voted for us.
But you know that's not how it works, right?
I know it's not now. No.
Oh, okay.
I'm saying back in the day.
Okay, all right. As I said, we all want to build this podcast. Like, what's your audience?
You know how they don't go down like that right now.
Yes.
No, that was at one point in time. You know, what's that? The musical Hamilton. During the musical, they briefly talk about that. How you know, Hamilton or a lot of those guys, they were influential in stopping that. It was like, we don't want this anymore, and a lot of it has to do with because we don't want to work with you. We don't want to, you know, go back and forth with you. So,
but yeah, so like local government is very important. Voting for, you know, your who's running in your city, and also there's accountability, of course, to the citizens to realize that affects you directly. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, if you can control those little small portions, you're definitely helping out the big picture of the political map in the long run. So that's it's very, very important that you do get involved with local government. and
Yeah.
that's where it actually has the most effect. Not the president, yeah, but your local government is where your vote really, really matters. That's what counts. So,
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. We're both, think the same thing and agree, on that point as far as, like I was saying before about the information is so important, that you learn about all of these positions and offices that you had no idea about. You didn't know this existed, and I definitely don't know what they do. And it's important to know what that position does, and again, how it affects your life and how it affects where you live, because it's easy for people, not just black people, not white people, when you don't know something, when you don't have the information, then it's easy to dismiss it.
yeah,
And
and
to not think it's important.
yeah, and they don't want you to know that. You know what I'm saying? Like, they want you to think that your vote is important every 4 years. That's what they want you to think. Every presidential election, that's when you pull out the big guns. But it's actually the opposite. You know what I'm saying? Like, you want to pull out your big guns in that local government. You know what I'm saying? In that local election, that's when it really, really matters.
Yeah. I've heard so many my friends, who feel the same way, who are encouraging, voting, and they talk about there are so many people who run at the local level who run, how do you say it? They're basically running by themselves.
Yeah.
There's nobody running against them, and because the turnout is so low, it doesn't take a whole lot of votes for them to get the office. That ends up in some situations working for you, because if there's not a lot of people running, then you have a good chance. But then in the opposite way, if the only person who is running is somebody who is either supporting policies that don't support you or not supporting the policies that do support you, he or she gets in office.
Absolutely.
Then it wouldn't take a whole lot to be able to come against that, if there was voter turnout. So yeah, you're right. That information is super important.